Welcome to the Bill Cartwright Show with our special guest, USF alum, John Reid. John, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bill. How are you? Good to see you.
It has been quite a bit. Now, how long has it been exactly?
I saw you at the USF game when they played. Was it Gonzaga? My daughter was with me. We had gone to the last 49er game at Candlestick.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's been probably, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I just didn't realize you were that big of a 49ers fan, which is good.
Yeah. Well, we'll go back.
Now, this is what I want to do really quickly. I'm going to have everybody get to know you really quickly. I want you to tell me where you grew up, and I want you to tell us a little bit about your mom and dad.
I was born in Indianapolis. Mom and Dad adopted me out of a hospital. Both were in the medical field. Dad was a physician. Mom was a nurse. Then we moved to California, and I grew up Walnut Creek, Lafayette, Oakland for a while. Then in Saratoga, and then finally Los Gatos, and that's where I went to high school, and that's where I was playing when we came up and played USF pregame against Galileo. It was your sophomore year, I think, because Marlon was still there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, talk about yourself a little bit when you were in high school. What kind of kid were you? Were you a sports kid? Were you an academic kid?
Academics was not my strong suit. Played football, basketball, and swam in high school.
Wow, I did not know you swam.
Yeah.
Huh.
We always had a pool growing up, so it was kind of natural.
So when you started playing a lot of sports, a lot of basketball, who influenced you? Was it a friend, coach? Who really helped you to learn how to play?
When I went to a parochial school, and the headmaster's kids, one of them was in my class, and the other was 2 years older, and we spent a lot of time at his house. And he was a big athlete, baseball, basketball. I think he may have played football too, but he was probably, Mike Strasburger was the guy I'm talking about. He was probably the biggest influence on what got me started. Him and his brother, because his father also was a Little League coach, and we always played against them. I was never on his team. Back then, everybody played Little League baseball. And, then, grade school hit, we started running around the playground, and basketball became kind of an automatic because of I grew fairly quickly. I was 6'4", graduating 8th grade, and then 6'6" as a freshman and 6'8" as a sophomore.
Wow. So talk about your high school teams. Did you guys have pretty good teams?
Yeah, we did. We had the big dog in the league was McNamara. He was the conference player of the year, I think his junior and senior year. He went on to play with Rambis at Santa Clara, and then I think left there and went to Berkeley. And may have played with Kevin Johnson. We had a really good team. We were generally either second or third in conference, but always ran into Mark went to Del Mar High School, and we wouldn't lose by much, but they would always beat us. I think we had 3 games that were 52-50.
Now, who was your high school coach?
Jim Johnson, good guy, pretty good coach. Liked me a lot. Played me ahead of some senior guys as a sophomore. And we got along real well. He was a math teacher as well. So I had him for, I think, Algebra 2.
So you are now about to leave high school. What are you thinking?
Well, I got some letters. Pennsylvania was one of the big schools. What was the coach at Detroit? What was his name with the bad boys?
Chuck Daly.
Yeah, Chuck Daly. He was the coach there. He wasn't the Chuck Daly then, but looking back, it might have been a good idea to go play for him. But Berkeley, Santa Clara, Oregon State, all showed some interest. Idaho, a couple schools up in Montana, Weaver State, Rice University from Texas. But like I said, we played a prelim game at one of your games my junior year. And as we walked in the gym, one of the doormen stopped me and said, "Senior?" I said, "No, junior." And he looked at the other coach or the other doorman and said, "Go get Belomini." And so I guess Dan came up and watched us play. And we beat Galileo that night. We put one of their star players into the bleachers by accident. But he wasn't able to play, I think, the second half. So we pretty much had our way with them after that. And then I heard from Dan late in the recruiting time. Went up, met Bob, and played against Sam and can't remember the other guy's name, but Sam and I played. What was that? They had a point guard recruit as well. We played a little 2-on-2 in the gym, and I think I remember James and Winford were sitting behind the basket on the bleachers there. I think I remember James saying something like, "Oh yeah, he's going to help Bill." So I thought that was kind of funny.
So what made the final decision of where you were going to go to school?
Figured we would, at USF, would definitely had a shot at a Final Four, and I was going to get to bounce you around in practice, and that was pretty much it. That was the deciding factor.
So talk about your first impressions of USF. What did you think once you got there?
Extremely over my head. I was a good high school basketball player, but definitely wasn't, caliber of you or James or Winford or Doug for that matter. But it looked like a fun time. We had 3 other freshmen that year: Bart and Dave and Marvin, and the 4 of us got along pretty well. I roomed with Bart on the road, and that was a lot of fun. And we won, an astronomical amount of games. Probably should have beat Cal State Fullerton too, because then we would have gone on and played Arkansas. And we always played well against the really good teams. So I think that would have launched us in the Final Four.
Yeah, we did. Unfortunately, we usually did really well during the regular season and conference, but not so much in the postseason. So that was the only thing I was sad about USF.
Yeah. Well, I mean, WCAC or WCAC wasn't the biggest, strongest conference, so we didn't play Dukes and Carolinas and Gonzaga for now. But Santa Clara was good. We played Baylor my freshman year. They had Benny Johnson, if you remember. Notre Dame at the Coliseum, and they had Lane Beer and Flowers and Trapuka in that crowd, and we beat them. We beat Baylor too. Benny, I think, had 45 that night. Lit Chubby up some beers and got the MVP for the tournament.
Yeah, well, that kid was pretty good.
Oh, he get off the floor.
So,
It was amazing.
So talk about your time, and you talk about any lessons that maybe you learned when you were at USF.
Met a lot of good people. As you remember, Jeff Edwards, his family kind of took me in under their wing and enjoyed that. difficult. Like I said, I wasn't the greatest student. Kind of lazy about going to class too. But it was a good experience. I met a lot of good teachers. When my sister passed away, a couple of the teachers helped me get through that grade-wise. So it was a good experience. Dorm life was good. Lots of people, lots of good people, and enjoyed living on campus.
So talk about how many years were you at USF?
One full year my freshman year, and then I left to go play. Went up to Washington State, not the Washington State, but Washington State. He's an WNBA coach now, Mike Tebow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Mike.
Sure.
He's with the Mystics, has been for a while. He was a friend of mine from Archbishop Midi High School in San Jose.
Yeah.
His sister was a nursing student at USF. Knew that I was struggling a little bit with the basketball, and contacted Mike, and Mike contacted me, and I just decided after Wallace got there that my playing time was going to be extremely limited. Because Bart played quite a bit from that freshman class, but the rest of us, rode a lot of pine. So my thought was, go someplace I can play. So I went up, it was St. Martin's College in Olympia, Washington. And then I transferred from there to Pacific Lutheran and played there for a little while. But again, injuries with the knee and the foot and the ankle, and I ended that career too. Going to basketball.
So where did you finish your college?
Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma,
Yeah.
Washington.
Yeah, I've been there.
Really IA school. Real nice school, great people. Pretty good basketball team. Pretty good basketball team.
I'm always curious. So now you're out of school.
Right.
So what are you thinking?
I was thinking, I finished in criminology, sociology, criminology at PLU. I was thinking law enforcement. But about 3 weeks after I finished school, my dad died, and that kind of ended that idea. My sister, like I said, had died a couple of years prior, and I couldn't walk around downtown San Jose with a gun on my head and have my mom worrying about me. So a buddy of mine and I opened up a landscape company, and I've been doing that up until December of this year. Finally retired.
Wow. So how long has that been? That's
in Florida and now in North Carolina. That's where I am now.
So I'm curious, how did you end up down there? Because you were in the West Coast. So how did that happen?
Followed ex-wife mother to Florida. We were looking to raise a family, and California was getting very expensive.
Yes, still is.
Yeah. So we went to a little town called Hope Sound, and a lot of sand in Florida, so it made digging holes for trees and irrigation lines and that sort of thing much easier. We were there for about 10 years. Moved up to North Carolina to kind of get out of the landscape business and spend more time with the kids. I coached AAU. I coached my daughter's junior high team. I coached some high school basketball. So I needed more time to do that. But then my wife and I split, and I went back to the landscape business to help get the kids through college. I have a son and a daughter. One went to University of Rochester and played basketball there. All conferences, a senior, great kid. And then my daughter went to DePaul. She played a little bit of volleyball there, and did a little play-by-play for the girls' basketball, and enjoyed that.
Now,
She left there after 2 years and went to New York and was a model for 8 or 10 years.
Wow,
That's
that's very impressive. Not only the modeling, but being able to go off to New York and.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of buzz about her. So she just said, "Hey, Dad, do you mind?" I said, "Hey, sure. You know, I'll help you any way I can."
So now that we're on her, so how is she doing?
She's doing well. She's living in Oregon. She married a guy a couple years older than her, an Australian kid. They do graphic arts. He does a lot of advertising for companies like Centrum and McDonald's. They live in Astoria, which is on the coast. Nice little spot. They've redone the house completely ground up. She's now working for another company, putting people that need advertising done with people that do what they do, which is the graphic arts. And she's doing really well on that.
How's your son doing?
He's doing well. He works. He finished at Rochester. Married his college sweetheart, who also played basketball there, was an integral part of their team and success. Very fine young lady. And then they moved back to Pittsburgh, where she's from, and she finished dental school at the University of Pittsburgh, and he's now working at the UPMC, which is the medical center in downtown Pittsburgh.
Nice.
And they have a son, Otto, who is 18 months old or so. Doing real well.
Hey, do you get a chance to correspond with any of your USF teammates, maybe old roommates?
After, I don't know, maybe a year or two after, Marvin called me because Mark had hurt himself and asked me to play on his, I think it was Deloach's All-Stars Summer League team one year. And I drove up from Los Gatos to, I can't remember where we played, but it was a pretty good hump. And played a couple games with them. Kevin Johnson from Berkeley was on the team.
Oh, wow.
Both played for the Suns, as you know. Had a lot of fun with that, but other than that, when Jeff died, his sister, Robin, contacted Marvin and asked if he knew where I was. Didn't, so I missed that funeral. But, other than talking with you upon occasion and going to see you play, that's about it for contact with USF boys.
Yeah, well, those guys are still there. Bart is still in Richmond. He's retired.
Yeah.
And Marvin is still he's still around. As a matter of fact, he works for the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And he was always a comedian, and he does that in his spare time.
Yeah, he was a funny guy.
But the guys are around. Doug Gibbs is around. Doug's in Ohio.
Yeah, went back. Huh?
Wallace is California by Reading.
Yeah, I bumped into Wallace in Florida in an AAU tournament. Someone was playing. We sat and chat for about 15 minutes in the bleachers one day. That was kind of cool to see.
Do you get an opportunity to watch sports now? Of course, being the old guys now. My son tells me to stop complaining about how guys are playing. Do you have an opportunity to watch?
Well, it's a different game. It's a different game now.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I'm like you. I get frustrated with it. My comment is, hell, if I could do that, I could still be playing. But the game's changed, and you got to grow with it.
Yeah, it is.
It's difficult to watch sometimes. I'm more of a college basketball fan than I am pro anymore.
Yeah, it is very frustrating, but I kind of suspect it always has been that way. We were just young. We thought we were doing really great.
Yeah.
But the old guys there were complaining about us.
Yeah. Well, maybe getting away with a little more than we should.
So talk about yourself just a little bit as far as Are you officially retired or?
Yeah, I'm going through a little radiation treatment right now. I had a little small melanoma on top of my head for being out in the sun for 40 years. Going over to Duke University to get that taken care of. Great bunch of people over there. My surgeon, Georgia Beasley, who's actually a two-time conference player of the year at Duke on the girls' team. We had a little bit to talk about there. Nice lady. Good group over there. I've been going there for 10 days straight now. And I got 5 more to go for radiation, then I should be clean bill of health.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
We definitely want to keep you up. We got to get you back to watch at least another few games. Conference tournament is next month.
That's right.
So and you can always watch games online. So,
yeah.
But
I'm still working maybe 1 or 2 days a week just to give myself something to do, and living up in a small town northeast of Raleigh, a real quiet little town, living on 6 acres, and really enjoying the sleeping in and slower paced life.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of headed for that.
Yeah.
Even though I still like,
it's wonderful.
Yeah, I still like running around full speed.
A lot of years, 6 days a week, and
12
hours a day.
Well, John, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And
appreciate you reaching out, and if you ever want to do it again, just call.
Yeah, make sure you stay in touch. I'll make sure I told Bart and Marvin that we got to get together. We got to get you back on the West.
There you go. Well, say hello to
Awesome.
everybody.